from Abuja, where, as Dr. Abati was referencing, there's a different video of another commissioning that has sparked a lot of reactions online. As a woman shows off a journalist 10 massive brand new luxury homes, all ready for move-in for judges of the Court of Appeal. Now, this commissioning took place this week in Katampe district of Abuja, with the federal government saying that the estate is representative of its commitment to the welfare and dignity of the judiciary. Let's watch.
Okay, so these are the houses. The appeal court judges. Wow, you can see they are glorious. And I think they also have some for the federal high court judges. Well, people are saying that it's a way of shutting down the judges. But I think that's the responsibility of the executive. They build houses for lawmakers, but what is wrong with building for the other arm of government? I don't think it so. And recently we have seen cases also being won even by the opposition. The same appeal court just yesterday overruled.
Now, it was hard to hear her, but she was essentially talking about the new houses that have just been given to these judges. And this clip has people debating online about the need for these homes and what it means for the independence of the judicial system when the federal government becomes akin to their landlord. Now, these houses are not being rented, but, Dr. Abati, you started there. Give us a reality check on how normal it is for judges to receive houses from the federal government.
Okay, first thing, let me conclude on the other point, which is to say that things that are taken for granted in other parts of the world, like road, like access to potable water, to electricity, to infrastructure, they're big deals in Nigeria, simply because government has not been living up to its responsibilities at various levels. And the expectation is that the very basic that Nigerians require should be made available. That, after all, is the responsibility of government. As for judges, yes, the Federal Capital Territory Administration has now provided 40 quality, quarters for, judges, high court judges, federal high court judges, judges in the Court of Appeal, and other categories. There are plans to also provide for judges at the level of the Bureau of Public Complaints and also the National Industrial Court. Now, some people are saying, this looks like they want to bribe these judges. If you give them good accommodation, it means you are going to bribe them. No, I don't think so. I don't think that we can make that leap. Judges have their code of conduct. They are expected, like Caesar's wives, to be above board. They are also expected, of course, to be very professional in the discharge of their responsibilities as the judex. But why should it be such a big issue that they are being given accommodation by the federal government? Now, you recall that many judges retiring have had to complain about the welfare of judges. The classic case is that of Justice Datijo Mohammed, who in October 2023 retiring, made a big issue out of the welfare of judges. In fact, he was even saying that judges were not being paid their salaries and that in fact judges were not being sent on training. There is also the case of Justice Ejembi Eko. When Justice Ejembi Eko was, I think retiring, also drew attention to the fact that judges are not well treated. You also have the case of Justice Olabode Rosevivor, who in leaving the bench also said, look, post-retirement, judges also should be well treated. These are people who take decisions that affect the governance of the country, the future of the country, the fortunes of democracy. So why treat them shabbily? Right. You can extend the same principle and say that any employer of labor, whether it's government or it's a private individual, should treat his workers with dignity and with respect. Simple. So that people can perform optimally. So if judges are given decent accommodation, I don't think that there is a problem with that. I don't agree with people who jump and say, oh, if you give them good accommodation, then it means that you are bribing them ahead of the litigation that will come after the 2027 general election. A worker deserves his wages. I think that's important. But the suspicion that I think people, are putting there, and the innuendos may derive from the kind of songs we were having at the FCT minister in commissioning the quarters, when he was saying, if I do for you, you do for me. If you fight me, if I hit you, you hit me, that kind of thing. A quid pro quo, kind of song. So the average Nigerian will say, okay, what is the minister of the Federal Capital Territory saying? Right. Is he saying, if I give you a decent accommodation, you too must do quid pro quo? So maybe the minister was overexcited. So the innuendo and the suggestion will seem to be completely out of place.
Yes.
But I think that our judges' welfare and their security is as important as the security and welfare of every one of us.
Yes. Absolutely. And okay, you both want to speak about it. Let me take this next story from Abuja and I'll let you tie everything in, because all of these stories are essentially in the Federal Capital Territory. And more on infrastructure, where a bold confrontation in broad daylight in Wuse 2 saw a man fully confronting a suspected street light thief. Yes, a man stealing public street lights, with the entire interaction caught on camera. Now in the video, which emerged this week, the man then chases the thief down, yelling at him the entire way. Let's take a look.
So you see your life. Yeah? You see your life.
Now this story is bigger than just this one clip, because it shows how tactics have changed. Now ever since parts of Abuja switched to solar-powered streetlights, thieves are not just stripping copper wires anymore, they're actually cutting down the entire pole to rip out the solar panels inside. And I'll take two reactions before coming to both of you, Ayo and Rufai. Now, Omomora says, imagine stealing streetlights in a country already looking for light. That's boldness on a whole nother level. Then Samuel says, this boils down to our system. If only there were adequate jobs and the policing system was working, all of this menace would stop. Ayo, you can start, and then if I
so that I know we both want to comment on this particular one. The first thing I said when I saw it was that why didn't he effect citizens' arrest? I know there's a lot of risk attached to that, because in the event that you arrest someone that is not guilty or isn't committing a crime, you could be sued. But in this case, there was a clear attempt to steal this infrastructure. And I say that as Nigerians, until we all begin to take personal responsibility for Nigerian assets and not see it as an opportunity. Because if you interview this thief now, you say it's our assets, it's our money, and I'm sure he has never paid one single tax as a Nigerian. And then we all say it's our money, it's our right, they are stealing, we want to steal. That is a very warped mindset, and that's why we talk about values and reasons for why people commit these kinds of crime. I think for next time when you see something like this, beyond just recording and posting on social media, you can effect citizens arrest, not jungle justice. That's the clear difference. You can detain the person temporarily until a law official comes in this instance, maybe the police officer comes in, you call the police and they come in to make a proper and formal arrest. That's what you can do, because we all must stand up to this menace. You know why? It has consequences for us. The other day, and for a few days, I've been complaining about the quality of service by our telecommunications provider. And I recall that during business report, the brief, Rotus has said, there's been increase in vandalism, theft, as said by some of the officials. This is the result of this. We don't know that we're actually cutting off our noses to spite our face. So you are doing all these things, and then later on you complain that there's flood here, and for those who steal the manholes, you complain that there's this accident here and there, but it is because of your own carelessness and irresponsibility as a citizen. So just to say that government is not our problem as a whole, it's part of it, good leadership, but we ourselves as citizens need to take responsibility of some of the things I feel in this country. This is very shameful. people, and I hope that the police have arrested him. Then going on to the judges, a quick comment I was also going to make, in addition to what Dr. Batista, and I quite agree with him, because I think it's also, for me, the fact that we will assume that a judge who has had years of experience in the legal profession would be swayed by a house should be something that is laughable. I want to, and I'm speaking in faith and in hope that this is the kind of dignity and honor and respect, and I do not want to devalue that, of our judges in Nigeria. These are the custodians of the law, and so I want to assume that their years, their name, their years of profession, their experience, the name they built for themselves will not be sacrificed on an altar of a house. Right. Is it house that is their problem? But speaking of for their welfare, because on one hand we talk about the fact that we need to ensure the welfare, but I hope that this same treatment is meted across board. I hope as they are building nice houses for the judges, we are considering the barracks for the police officers. I hope as they are building nice houses for the judges, we are considering increasing the daily ration, food ration for our military officers. Because what is good for the goose is good for the gander. And this is where we see inequality in our society. If the judges are getting and we're advocating for good welfare, we should not hear that police officers are having to pay for their own uniforms. We should not hear that police officers are having to run their own stations because of inadequate funding. So across board, we promote welfare of these citizens. And then the final point is that I also feel that celebrating or this public commissioning is very unnecessary. In light of the prevalent situation in our country where we have students, young people in captivity, we are coming and doing this open show of commissioning houses. No, this is not the time for all of this. Do what is right by them, give it in your closing and give it to them. But this opulence, it can be very provocative because of what people are going through currently in the nation.
The former special advisor to Vice President Kashim Shettima, Dr. Hakeem Baba Ahmed, is shocking users online after revealing in a new interview that he spent 175 million naira to rescue his nephew last year from the hands of terrorists. Now, Baba Ahmed states that this whole ordeal went down when he was working in Aso Villa, and that it took 37 days and a lot of money before the abductors finally released his nephew. Let's take a look.
Put up in this maybe house, maybe hotel in the village. In the night, bandits came. One of them tried to run away. They followed him, shot him dead, dragged his body back, so the other three can see what will happen if the other three try to run away. They didn't. They were taken just a few kilometers into the bush, and they spent 36 days there. At that time, I was the special advisor to the president. I was working in the villa. There was hardly anybody I didn't speak to. We gave them the coordinates, which was easy to get, where for those 37 days, every single day one answer, we spoke with the bandits and we spoke with our nephew and the two other people. We will negotiate.
Over a month in captivity, hundreds of millions of naira spent for someone working in Aso Villa. Now, this video has shown that the kidnapping epidemic has slowly but surely impacted Nigerians at all levels in society, even within the federal government. Rufai, to think that someone within Aso Villa went through all of that makes one wonder how other Nigerians who don't have 175 million are supposed to deal.
You would die if you don't have that money. And that's what Nigeria has become. That's a sad reality. If somebody has influential, you know how influential the Baba Ahmed family is in this country. You will die. He spoke to everybody. Nobody cares. That's why our kids are still there, except you make national call as regards the case and people start to cry about what is going on. You will die. And when you die, nothing will happen. Nigeria, we're so quick to move on. And that's what has befallen this nation. Till today, are we even talking about the kids that we kidnapped in Born? So when the government say, they rescue thousands of people in one raid, where's the evidence? Is there a head count? Verifiable head count? You see, that's why we keep saying that a lot should be done. Now they have want to collect 500 billion from FARC now. They will never account for that money. It's still part of the cycle. They will not be kidnapped. That's the sad reality. That's the sad reality of the country. See, in countries around the world, some countries don't give houses to judges. If it's mostly countries around, maybe the Commonwealth, India and the likes, and Africa, that have quarters for judges. Ideally, it's not supposed to be a bad thing. But Nigeria is never an ideal scenario. That's the problem. And that's why I think this is a way to buy judges leading up to politics. The question we should ask is, have judges been bought in before in this country? Yes, now. It might not be straight buying, it might be pressure. Wasn't it a judge that came out and said he was pressured to give a judgment against Fela? And Fela turned it into a song that judge, they beg you, he don't beg. What are we saying? Is it not in this country that a court of appeal said stay execution on the case? A judge ignored the court of appeal. A federal high court judge ignored the court of appeal, gave judgment. The court of appeal had to come back and rule and say that's judicial rascality. Till today, didn't I predict last week? Has anything happened to the judge?
Not yet. Still early days.
Ayo, if anything happened to the judge, I will come and will say, okay. I don't want to say that now. Is it not in this country? Is it not in the country that, although I don't support what Buhari did there when they raided judges, and they raided judges and they met thousands of dollars in their home. Anyway, all the judges were acquitted in 2016, but they met thousands of dollars in their possession. Is it today? Is it today that you see all sorts of judgment that have K-leg? So, ideally, it's not supposed to be a bad thing, but the country is nyanya. Country ti bàjẹ́, ó ti nyanya, ó ti dípẹ̀ta. You know what dípẹ̀ta is? Rotten to.
But those houses are in Katakwe, not in Nyanya. Nyanya district. Very in Abuja. Not Nyanya district.
Kata ti bojú justice men.
Okay.
Kata has covered the eye.
No, I still want to see.
You see, even judges. No, they are good ones. So that's why I say ideally.
Some of them will not sacrifice their name.
See, that lady justice thing that they used to pass over the other. Kata has covered the eye of that lady justice.
This is about welfare and security.
I don't have problems with.
Don't let us impugn the integrity of their lordship. That's a different kind of conversation.
I am not impugning the integrity of our. I said, and I quote, ideally, it should not be a big deal. In fact, I even advocate. I remember Justice Datijo. I've had conversation with Justice Rufai about this. I would have wanted a case in which, yes, I know they increased their salary recently. It's even monetized and it's part of a pay package where they say, okay, if a justice sees house, there should be a set allowance where the government can give them to be able to purchase a house of election. I would have loved that. But you see, Dr. Abati, this one that a politician is coming to build and saying, Nami Duam. I used to hear the Inwedo song, Nami build them. And he said, it is under my tenure that I built it.
It is money.
Is it his money? Dr. Abati, very good question.
Okay.
Let me not tell you, please, that's why I say I would take
okay.
Is it his money that he for doing road with taxpayers' money, he took media, he took praise singers, he's collecting the glory, dancing. He said, I did it. I did it for you.
That's what we said.
So the optics of the fact that he was the one that collected the land from Julius Berger and they build this on top of it is seen as his effort. So that's what I have problems with. Ideally, it's not supposed to be a bad thing. If there's a structure where a judge gets to a certain level, there's monies, they make funds available to be able to purchase, what is it called, and it's a government scheme. I don't have problems with that. But Dr. Abati, I'm not trying to impugn the integrity of the judiciary. There are good judges in this country, don't get me wrong. Kudos to the Court of Appeal judges that stood up and kicked against that other judgment. But Dr. Abati, as there are good judges, there are some judges that make you feel in this country, it will do better. Thank you, Rufai.
No,